Skill number 6 is brevity. Clarity was about the clarity of your thoughts. Brevity is about summarizing someone else's ideas, usually. Let's say you are on a phone call and a lot has been said, and then you need to deliver a brief version of what happened to your colleagues or to the board of directors or to your boss. Or let's say you're giving a presentation. You have prepared an hour-long presentation, but when you come in, a person says, look, I have 10 minutes and I have to run, so can we just, go over it really fast? Or you jump on a Zoom call and people also tell you, look, we're going to go, unfortunately, or we're having some technical issues and we only have half an hour instead of a full hour. What do? Or let's say you're on a conference and you're one of the speakers and every other speaker before you abused their time, which means now, instead of a 15-minute keynote, you're going to give only a 5-minute keynote because that's all the time you have. You need to always be ready to give a brief version of what you have to say and a detailed version of what you can say. It doesn't mean that one of them is worse or better than the other. It just means we have to be ready for both. Brevity is an amazing skill and it's worth developing because so many times we see situations where people just cannot give anyone a brief version of what they want to say. They start talking and talking. And as they keep talking, giving us so many details, so many irrelevant details about whatever they want to say, that they never arrive at a point, they never make a point, they never get to the point, but the time is running out. This is why practice brevity. It's one of the essential skills to achieve native-like fluency and actually reading the signals when native speakers do send you signals that, you know what, I don't have time for a full presentation right now. I have the time for a 5-minute conversation. You need to give them a brief version, skipping all the details, especially irrelevant details. And there is the time for a full presentation when we can sit back, relax, listen to an hour-long story maybe, or we can sit down and get ready for an hour-long presentation. You have to feel what context is right for what. But if you can communicate something very complex and complicated in very few words, that is priceless, trust me. Because if people are interested, they will ask you to expand on that. They will ask you to elaborate on your ideas, and that will be your permission to give them a full version. So how do you practice brevity? You practice clarity when you work with your own thought process. You organize your own thoughts. You practice brevity when you practice condensing a big message into something very short, simple, plain, very concise, and very powerful. Watch any YouTube video and summarize it. Well, actually, any YouTube video would be too vague. I'm actually suggesting that you work with animated podcasts. I'm going to include a YouTube link to a huge playlist of such podcasts. It's a story. Every podcast is a story. So every story has a lot of details. It has characters, something is happening, something happens, right? And every story has a lesson. Every story has a moral too. Practice giving a brief version of this story, even to yourself. Even if you record yourself, that will be already a good exercise. If you have a conversation partner, somebody who will listen to you in English, send them this message or record a brief version of the same story and send the person a voice message and see if they understand. See if they will actually be able to comprehend what the story is about. You can summarize the story for yourself, like what was it even about, and see if it makes sense, and then try to condense it and give a very brief version of the same story. You also need to do it in writing. This is the only way. If you do it only in your head, or if you practice without writing things down, you're not really developing any skill. You're repeating what you already know. But we're not practicing here repeating the information from YouTube videos. We're not practicing telling and retelling stories. We're really practicing the skill of condensing information, communicating a lot of meaning in very few words. And when you have written it down, see how much you can remove. See what details are not necessary here and add it mercilessly again until you arrive at a very clean and brief version of the same story. You just have to learn to skip unnecessary details and retain only important, vital pieces of information that will communicate the gist, the essence of the idea. Brevity is actually about communicating the essence of the idea. So give it a try. I will include a list of YouTube videos that you can work with, but you can work with anything. Emails are also amazing. People tend to write long, irrelevant, rambling emails. Even if you work on your emails and try to make them shorter and try to learn to communicate the gist of the message in an email, that will be a huge step forward as well. I'm not saying that every email has to be very short. Look, sometimes you have to send a 3-paragraph email, but my tip here would be that if you feel like you need to write 3, 4, or 5 paragraphs in your email, maybe you have to pick up the phone and call them. That will be a better solution. It means it's too much for an email. Emails are good when they're short and clear. Practice condensing all this information in one email and try to communicate only one idea in every email. Emails and these YouTube videos are amazing materials to practice brevity. So get started and let me know how you do.